Have you ever found yourself constantly comparing your life to others? Do you feel like you're always chasing someone else's dreams, wondering why you can't find peace with your own? Why does it sometimes feel like we're constantly measuring ourselves against others, even though we know deep down it's not helping us? This constant comparison can be exhausting, right? Here's a simple example. Imagine you're walking down the street and you see someone with a new car. Instantly, you start thinking, I wish I had that car, or I need to work harder to get that. But have you ever stopped and wondered if that person is truly happy with that car? Or maybe they're comparing themselves to someone else too. We often forget that what others have doesn't determine our worth or happiness. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, the place where we dive deep into valuable insights that can transform your life. In today's video, we're going to explore why focusing on yourself, instead of others, is the key to true peace and success. If you've been struggling with feeling lost or constantly comparing yourself to others, this video is for you. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So please like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more content just like this, and trust me, it will be worth it. Now, let's begin our journey of understanding why focusing on yourself is the best thing you can do for your mind, your peace, and your growth. The constant battle of comparison is something that so many of us struggle with daily. But what if you could let go of that need to measure yourself against others? Imagine how freeing it would feel to live for yourself, not anyone else. This isn't just a nice thought. It's the foundation for creating a life of purpose and happiness. In the next few minutes, we'll explore how focusing on your own path can bring you closer to your true self. Stick with us till the end for some eye-opening insights that could change the way you approach your life forever. The illusion of comparison. Imagine you're sitting by a peaceful lake, watching the water flow gently by. The stillness is comforting, and for a moment, you feel at peace with yourself. But then, someone walks by, and they're talking about their latest achievement. A new promotion at work, a fancy vacation, or a new car. Suddenly, that calm feeling begins to fade, and you start comparing yourself to them. I wish I had what they have, you think. Why am I not there yet? This is the nature of comparison. It sneaks in when we least expect it and disturbs our peace of mind. But here's a simple truth. Comparing ourselves to others is like trying to measure the depth of the ocean with a ruler. It's an impossible task. Why? Because no two people are the same, and no two journeys are identical. In Buddhism, there is a concept called dukkha, a word often translated as suffering or dissatisfaction. A large part of this dukkha comes from our tendency to compare ourselves with others. We see someone else's success and believe that we are lacking something. But what we often fail to realize is that comparison is an illusion, a trap of the mind. It's like looking at someone's Instagram post and thinking their life is perfect, not knowing the challenges they've faced to get where they are. This illusion of comparison is a never-ending cycle. The more we compare, the more dissatisfied we become. We may feel better when we're ahead, but that satisfaction is short-lived because there's always someone further along or achieving something more. It's a race with no finish line, and no matter how fast we run, there's always someone who seems to have it better. So, where does this leave us? In a state of constant dissatisfaction, always looking outward and never inward. But imagine for a moment if you could break free from this cycle. What if, instead of looking at someone else's success, you focused on your own growth? What if your worth was not measured by comparison to others, but by your own unique journey and progress? This is where true peace lies, in the acceptance of who we are and where we are on our path. When we stop comparing, we free ourselves from the prison of judgment. In the Buddhist teachings, there's a powerful idea that encourages us to look within. The only true measure of success is not external achievement but inner peace and contentment. Buddha himself said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." This is the essence of what it means to live without comparison. So, how do we begin to stop comparing ourselves to others? The first step is awareness. Just like any other habit, comparison starts in the mind. The moment you notice yourself comparing, stop and take a deep breath. Recognize that this is just the mind at work, and it doesn't have to control you. The next step is to practice mindfulness. When you're caught in a moment of comparison, observe your thoughts without judgment. acknowledge them, and then gently shift your focus back to yourself. Another powerful tool is gratitude. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, focus on what you already possess. It could be as simple as the ability to see, walk, or speak, or it could be the relationships in your life that bring you joy. By practicing gratitude, you shift your focus from lack to abundance. You stop measuring yourself against others and start recognizing the richness of your own life. Buddhism also teaches us the importance of non-attachment. Attachment to the idea of better or more is what fuels comparison. When we are attached to the idea of needing to be better than someone else, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. But when we let go of these attachments, we find peace in simply being who we are, in this moment, without needing to be anything else. It's important to remember that every person has their own struggles, even if they aren't visible on the surface. You may look at someone and think, they have it all, but you don't see the challenges they face when the camera is off or when the public eye is turned away. Everyone is fighting their own battles, and that's why comparison is not only unproductive, it's unfair. It's like comparing a rose to a sunflower. Both are beautiful, but in their own way. True happiness comes when we stop measuring ourselves against others and instead embrace our own path. Every person is on a different journey, shaped by unique experiences, circumstances, and choices. So, why should we expect our progress to mirror someone else's? Life is not a competition, but a personal journey of growth, learning, and self-discovery. When we shift our focus inward, we begin to see the abundance that already exists in our lives. We start to realize that we don't need to compete with others because there is enough space in this world for everyone to flourish. Your worth is not defined by what others have, but by the love and kindness you show yourself, and by the growth you experience on your own terms. Buddhism teaches that the path to true peace lies in understanding the nature of our mind. The mind is always looking for something to cling to, whether it's a goal, an achievement, or a comparison. But the more we cling to these external things, the more restless the mind becomes. True peace comes when we let go of our attachments and simply accept things as they are. We learn to be at peace with ourselves, regardless of what's happening around us. This doesn't mean we stop striving for improvement or success. It simply means we do it for ourselves, not because we're trying to outdo someone else. The best way to live is to focus on your own journey, to make progress at your own pace, and to celebrate your own successes, no matter how small they may seem. So, next time you find yourself caught in the trap of comparison, remember this. You are enough just as you are. Your journey is unique, and it's yours alone. There's no need to compare, because your path is already unfolding perfectly. Focus on your growth, your happiness, and your peace, and you'll begin to see that the only person you need to compete with is the person you were yesterday. In the next part, we'll explore how Buddhist teachings can help us embrace this idea and cultivate true inner peace. Stay with us as we continue this journey toward a life free from the chains of comparison. Buddhist teachings on inner peace. In life, we often find ourselves searching for peace. It's a universal desire, isn't it? We all want inner peace, freedom from the noise, the stress, and the endless distractions that surround us every day. But how do we find this peace? Where do we begin? The answer lies in looking within ourselves, in focusing on our own minds and hearts, not on what's happening around us or what others are doing. Buddhism, an ancient philosophy and way of life, offers profound insights into how we can cultivate inner peace. The core teachings of Buddhism revolve around the understanding of the mind. In Buddhism, it's believed that much of our suffering comes from our thoughts, our desires, and our attachment to the world as we perceive it. The Buddha taught that by understanding and transforming our minds, we can find true peace. One of the foundational teachings of Buddhism is the concept of dukkha, often translated as suffering or dissatisfaction. The Buddha taught that suffering is an inherent part of life, but it is not something we need to fear or avoid. Instead, he showed us that suffering arises from our attachments. Attachments to things, to outcomes, to people, and even to our own ideas of who we are. These attachments create a cycle of desire and frustration. We think that if we just get what we want, then we will be happy, but the truth is, happiness is fleeting when it is tied to external circumstances. To break free from this cycle, the Buddha outlined the Four Noble Truths. These truths explain the nature of suffering and provide a path to liberation. The first truth is that suffering exists. We don't need to look far to see this. Whether it's the pain of loss, the stress of work, or the longing for things we don't have, suffering is all around us. The second truth is that suffering is caused by craving and attachment. We constantly desire more. More money, more recognition, more success, believing that these things will bring us lasting happiness. But this craving only leads to more dissatisfaction. The third truth offers hope. There is an end to suffering. This is where the path of liberation begins. The fourth truth, known as the Noble Eightfold Path, is the way to overcome suffering. This path guides us in how to live a life that is free from the endless cycle of craving and attachment. At the heart of the Eightfold Path is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness, in simple terms, means paying attention to the present moment without judgment. In Buddhism, mindfulness is not just about meditation. It's a way of living. When we are mindful, we stop chasing after the past or the future. We stop comparing ourselves to others, and we stop wishing for things to be different. Instead, we focus on what is happening right now with all our attention and awareness. This simple practice of being present can bring a profound sense of peace. When we are mindful, we realize that we don't need to look outside ourselves for happiness. It's already here, in this moment, in the way we breathe, in the simple things that make up our day. Mindfulness also helps us to detach from our thoughts and emotions. We all have moments when we feel overwhelmed, frustrated, or anxious. These feelings are natural, but they don't define us. In Buddhism, we are taught that we are not our thoughts. Thoughts come and go, but our true nature is like the sky, vast and open, unaffected by the clouds that pass through it. When we practice mindfulness, we can observe our thoughts without becoming attached to them. We can let them pass, just as clouds drift across the sky. This ability to let go is a key part of finding inner peace. Another important Buddhist practice is metta, or loving kindness. In the Buddhist tradition, metta is not just about being kind to others, but also being kind to ourselves. Often, we are our own harshest critics. We judge ourselves, compare ourselves to others, and believe we are not good enough. But Buddhism teaches us that true peace comes from self-compassion. When we are kind to ourselves, when we accept ourselves as we are, without judgment, we begin to cultivate inner peace. Loving kindness is not just about feeling good. It's about transforming the way we relate to ourselves and the world. It helps us break free from the constant cycle of comparison, self-doubt, and dissatisfaction. The practice of meditation is another essential tool in Buddhism for achieving inner peace. Meditation allows us to quiet the mind and connect with our true self. In the stillness of meditation, we learn to observe our thoughts without becoming caught up in them. Over time, meditation helps us develop a deep sense of calm and clarity. It is through this stillness that we begin to hear our inner voice, the voice of wisdom and understanding that is always there, beneath the noise of everyday life. In Buddhism, the concept of impermanence is also key to understanding peace. Everything in life is constantly changing. Our emotions, our circumstances, and even our thoughts are fleeting. The Buddha taught that by recognizing the impermanence of life, we can stop clinging to things and start accepting them as they are. This doesn't mean we become indifferent or passive. Rather, it means we approach life with a sense of openness and acceptance. We stop fighting against change and begin to flow with it, like a river that moves around obstacles rather than trying to fight them. One of the most powerful Buddhist practices for cultivating inner peace is the practice of detachment. This doesn't mean we stop caring about people or things. Rather, it means we stop allowing our happiness to be dependent on external circumstances. When we detach from the need for things to be a certain way, we free ourselves from the constant stress and anxiety that come from trying to control the uncontrollable. We begin to live more fully in the present moment, embracing life as it is, without attachment or resistance. Ultimately, the teachings of Buddhism show us that true peace comes from within. It's not something we can find outside ourselves, in possessions or achievements, but something that is cultivated through mindfulness, compassion, and the acceptance of impermanence. By focusing on our own minds, and by letting go of the need to compare ourselves to others, we can begin to experience the deep, lasting peace that comes from simply being who we are. So, how do we apply these teachings in our daily lives? It begins with small steps. Start by becoming aware of your thoughts and emotions. When you feel yourself getting caught up in comparison or craving, take a moment to pause and breathe. Bring your attention to the present moment and remind yourself that true peace is found not in what others are doing, but in how you respond to your own life. Practice kindness toward yourself, and remember that you don't have to be perfect to find peace. Each step you take in this direction brings you closer to the inner peace that Buddhism teaches us is our true nature. By practicing mindfulness, embracing loving kindness, and accepting the impermanence of life, you can start to cultivate a sense of inner peace that will carry you through the ups and downs of life. It's not always easy, but it is always worth it. And remember, the path to peace is a journey, not a destination. Take it one step at a time, and let the wisdom of Buddhism guide you along the way. The role of mindfulness in self-development. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to feel like everything is happening too quickly. The world moves at a rapid pace, and we often find ourselves rushing from one task to the next, without truly experiencing or appreciating the present moment. Have you ever found yourself thinking about the past while in the middle of something, or planning for the future when you should be focused on what's right in front of you? It's like we are always somewhere else mentally, while our body is still in the present. This is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is a simple, yet powerful practice. It means paying full attention to what's happening right now, without judgment. It's about being fully present in the moment, no matter what you are doing. Mindfulness can transform the way you experience your day-to-day life, and it's a practice that is deeply rooted in Buddhist teachings. In Buddhism, mindfulness is known as sati, a practice of awareness that helps you reconnect with the present. It's not just about sitting in meditation. It's about bringing awareness to every moment of your life. Whether you're eating, walking, or talking to someone, mindfulness teaches you to be fully present in whatever you're doing, without distraction. This simple shift in focus can have a profound impact on your well-being and self-development. The key to mindfulness is in how we approach the present. So often, we think about what we need to do next, or we get lost in regrets about the past. But mindfulness teaches us to pause, breathe, and simply be. By focusing on the present, we begin to notice more. Whether it's the way the light falls through the window, or the sound of your breath as you inhale and exhale, this shift in focus allows us to experience life with greater depth, and when we do, we begin to see things more clearly. When you practice mindfulness, you start to notice the patterns in your thinking. You'll notice when your mind drifts into negative or unhelpful thoughts, and with mindfulness, you have the power to gently bring it back to the present. This is not a process of forcing your mind to be calm, but rather an invitation to gently guide it back to what's happening now, without judgment. Over time, this practice helps you understand your thoughts and emotions more clearly, allowing you to respond to life instead of reacting to it. One of the most transformative aspects of mindfulness is its ability to bring a sense of calm to your life. When you're fully present, your mind isn't filled with distractions or worries about things that have happened or might happen. It's simply in the now, and when the mind is calm, you can see things with clarity. It's like wiping a fogged-up mirror clean, so you can see yourself clearly for who you truly are. Mindfulness also teaches you to approach each experience with curiosity. Instead of just going through the motions of your day, you begin to explore each moment with an open mind. You may find that, in doing so, you begin to understand more about yourself. You start to notice the things that bring you joy, the things that cause you stress, and the things that you've been avoiding. It's like peeling back layers, discovering more about yourself in every moment. Buddhism tells us that suffering comes from attachment and desire. When we are attached to things, outcomes, or the way we think life should be, we suffer. Mindfulness helps us let go of those attachments by teaching us to accept things as they are. When we stop fighting with reality and accept the present moment, we begin to find peace in the midst of everything. This doesn't mean you give up your goals or dreams, but it means you stop letting the attachment to those things control your happiness. As you practice mindfulness, you will begin to notice how your emotions shift. Maybe you feel anxious, frustrated, or sad, but with mindfulness, you can acknowledge those feelings without getting lost in them. Instead of reacting to emotions with impulse or judgment, you learn to simply observe them. You can allow them to be present without letting them define you. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions, but rather, you allow them to come and go freely without attachment. Another important part of mindfulness is being kind to yourself. Self-compassion is a vital aspect of Buddhist teachings. Often, we are our harshest critics. We make mistakes and then beat ourselves up over them, instead of treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer a friend. Mindfulness helps us realize that we are human, and it's okay to be imperfect. By being mindful, we can learn to treat ourselves with compassion, to forgive ourselves, and to be gentle in the face of our own mistakes. Mindfulness doesn't only help us in our personal lives, it also strengthens our relationships with others. When we are fully present in conversations, we listen more deeply. Instead of planning our response while someone else is talking, we give them our full attention. This creates a deeper connection with the people around us. Mindfulness teaches us empathy and patience, which are essential for building meaningful relationships. One way to begin practicing mindfulness is through meditation. But don't worry, this doesn't mean you have to sit for hours in a quiet room, trying to clear your mind. You can start small. Just take a few minutes each day to sit quietly and focus on your breath. Notice the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. When your mind starts to wander, gently bring your attention back to your breath, without judgment. This simple practice can begin to shift the way you experience life. However, mindfulness doesn't only exist in meditation. You can bring mindfulness into every part of your life, from eating to driving to washing the dishes. When you're doing something, try to do it with full awareness. For example, when you eat, focus on the taste, the texture, and the smell of the food. Notice how your body feels as you eat. This practice, called mindful eating, helps you become more connected to your body and the food you're consuming. The more you practice mindfulness, the easier it becomes to carry that presence into your everyday life. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Over time, mindfulness will become second nature to you. You will naturally start to focus on the present, and your life will feel richer and more meaningful. Buddhism teaches that by practicing mindfulness, we begin to see through the illusion of the self. We realize that we are not our thoughts, our emotions, or our past. We are not defined by the roles we play or the achievements we accumulate. We are simply human beings, experiencing life as it is. When you let go of the need to label yourself or compare yourself to others, you find freedom. Mindfulness helps you understand that you are enough, just as you are. As you continue to develop your mindfulness practice, you may notice subtle changes within yourself. You may find that you are more patient, more aware of your emotions, and more accepting of life's ups and downs. With mindfulness, you can learn to live with intention. You can choose to respond to life's challenges with calmness and clarity, instead of reacting impulsively. Mindfulness is the path to a life that is more balanced, peaceful, and fulfilling. In the end, mindfulness is not just a tool to manage stress, it's a way of living. By embracing mindfulness, you unlock the power to be fully alive in each moment, to find joy in the simple things, and to cultivate a deep sense of peace within yourself. The art of letting go. Imagine you're holding a cup of hot tea in your hand. The tea is warm, and it feels comforting, but after a while, the cup becomes too hot to hold. If you keep holding on to it, your hand will burn. What do? You let go, right? It's simple, yet when it comes to our thoughts, emotions, and attachments, we often forget the most important step: letting go. In life, we often carry things with us: burdens, fears, regrets, grudges, and these things weigh us down. It's like holding that hot cup of tea. We hold on to these feelings because we believe they define us. We think that by holding on, we're protecting ourselves or keeping ourselves safe. But in truth, these attachments only cause pain and prevent us from living fully. The practice of letting go is at the heart of many teachings, especially in Buddhism. The Buddha spoke of the importance of releasing attachments, because it's through these attachments that suffering arises. But letting go isn't something that happens overnight. It's a practice, one that takes time and patience. First, you must recognize what you're holding on to. This could be a past mistake, a painful memory, or a fear about the future. Often, we hold on to things out of habit, not realizing that they are no longer serving us. For instance, If you're upset about something that happened years ago, ask yourself, is this still serving me? Is holding on to this anger or regret helping me grow or move forward? Most of the time, the answer is no. Letting go also means accepting that not everything is in your control. There's a saying in Buddhism, let go or be dragged. Life is constantly changing, and we cannot control everything that happens to us. What we can control is how we respond to these events. If we hold on to the need for control, we only create more stress and suffering for ourselves. But if we let go, we allow life to flow naturally, without resistance. One of the most common things people hold on to is fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. These fears keep us stuck, preventing us from moving forward. But if you're constantly afraid, how can you ever take a step forward? The first step in letting go of fear is to acknowledge it. Don't try to push it away. Just notice it. Say to yourself, I am afraid, and that's okay. When you allow yourself to feel the fear without judgment, it loses its power over you. Letting go also involves forgiveness. This is one of the hardest things to do, especially when someone has hurt you deeply. But holding on to anger or resentment only harms you, not the other person. Forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the pain of holding on to that hurt. Think of it like carrying a heavy stone. The stone represents your anger or resentment. When you let go of it, you free yourself. You don't have to carry that weight anymore. It's also important to understand that letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean you stop caring or stop trying. Letting go is about releasing the attachment to the outcome. You can still work hard, you can still pursue your goals, but you must be willing to release the need for control over how everything will unfold. This doesn't mean you're passive. It means you trust that life will unfold as it's meant to, and you're open to whatever comes. One powerful way to practice letting go is through meditation. Meditation helps you observe your thoughts and emotions without getting attached to them. When a thought arises, whether it's a worry, a regret, or a desire, you don't cling to it. You simply acknowledge it and let it pass by, like a cloud in the sky. With practice, you begin to see how fleeting our thoughts and emotions really are. They come and go, and we don't have to hold on to them. Another way to let go is to practice detachment. Detachment doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means not allowing your happiness to depend on external things. You can enjoy things, like your job, relationships, or material possessions, but you must understand that they are not the source of your true happiness. True happiness comes from within, from peace, acceptance, and contentment. When you are detached, you are free. You can enjoy life fully, but you are not dependent on it for your happiness. Letting go also means being willing to release the stories you tell yourself. We all have stories that we hold on to. The story of our past, the story of who we think we are, the story of our struggles. But these stories are just that, stories. They don't define who you are. You are not your past, and you are not your mistakes. When you let go of these stories, you allow yourself to be free. You allow yourself to create a new story, one that is not limited by the past. This process of letting go is deeply connected to mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, we become aware of what we're holding on to. We start to notice the mental and emotional clutter that fills our minds. Mindfulness helps us see that most of the things we worry about are either in the past or the future. They don't exist right now. In the present moment, we can let go of the worries and be fully here, experiencing life as it is, without any attachments. At the heart of letting go is trust. Trust that everything happens for a reason, even if we don't understand it at the time. Trust that by letting go, we are making space for something better. Trust that life will guide us where we need to go, even if the path doesn't look like we expected. When we trust, we release our need to control everything and allow ourselves to flow with life, instead of fighting against it. So, how do you start letting go? Begin by looking within. What are you holding on to? What are the things in your life that are causing you pain or keeping you stuck? It could be a past experience, a fear, or a relationship. Acknowledge it, feel it, but then let it go. Remember, just like the hot cup of tea, holding on to something that no longer serves you only causes harm. Letting go isn't always easy. It's a practice, and it takes time. But with each step, you'll find yourself lighter, freer, and more at peace. And as you release the unnecessary burdens in your life, you'll make space for the things that truly matter: peace, happiness, and love. The art of letting go is one of the most powerful tools you can use to create the life you truly want. Building emotional resilience. In life, we all face challenges, difficult situations, unexpected losses, disappointments, and times when things simply don't go our way. But what if I told you that the key to navigating these tough times lies within you? What if I told you that, just like a tree that bends with the wind but doesn't break, you too can develop emotional resilience? Let's dive into how you can do this. Emotional resilience is the ability to stay strong, calm, and balanced in the face of adversity. It's about bouncing back from life's challenges and not letting them define you. In many ways, it's like building a muscle. Just as you strengthen your body through consistent exercise, you can strengthen your emotional resilience by consciously developing certain habits and practices. So, how do you begin? The first step is understanding that challenges are not meant to break you, but to teach you. In Buddhism, there's a powerful teaching about impermanence, which reminds us that nothing in life stays the same. This includes our pain, frustration, and disappointment. Just like the seasons change, so too do our emotions. The moment you understand that emotions are temporary, you begin to view them differently. Instead of reacting immediately to your emotions, you start to accept them, acknowledge them, and let them pass through you like a breeze. When something difficult happens, whether it's a problem at work, a disagreement with a loved one, or a personal setback, resilience means not getting stuck in your emotions. Instead of allowing fear, anger, or sadness to take over, you can sit with these emotions without letting them control you. This is not about pushing your feelings away or pretending they don't exist. It's about acknowledging them, feeling them fully, and then choosing not to let them dictate your actions. One of the most important things to remember is that emotional resilience doesn't mean you won't feel pain. It simply means that you will have the strength to face the pain without letting it consume you. Let me share a story to illustrate this. Imagine a person who has been working hard towards a goal, but suddenly, they fail. They could choose to let this failure define them. They could sit in self-pity, feeling that they are not good enough. But instead, they choose to acknowledge the failure, accept that it happened, and then learn from it. They understand that the failure is not permanent, and it does not define who they are. They pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and try again. This is resilience in action. Another important aspect of emotional resilience is practicing mindfulness. By staying present in the moment, you can reduce the impact of emotional stress. Often, we get caught up in worrying about the future or dwelling on the past, and this only increases our emotional turmoil. But when we practice mindfulness, we train our minds to focus on the here and now. This helps us remain grounded, even when emotions threaten to overwhelm us. Think about it like this. Imagine you're standing in a storm. The wind is blowing, the rain is pouring, and everything around you feels chaotic. Now, imagine that instead of being swept away by the storm, you remain calm and steady, finding your balance despite the conditions. This is what mindfulness can help you do in the emotional storms of life. Another way to build emotional resilience is through self-compassion. Often, when we face difficulty, we are hard on ourselves. We tell ourselves that we should have done better, that we're not good enough, or that we've failed. But resilience isn't about beating yourself up. It's about being kind to yourself in times of trouble. When you treat yourself with compassion, you are more likely to get back on your feet after a fall. You understand that everyone makes mistakes, and these mistakes don't determine your worth. Self-compassion means treating yourself as you would treat a close friend who is going through a tough time. You wouldn't criticize or judge them. You'd offer them understanding and support. Additionally, building emotional resilience means learning to accept things you cannot change. In Buddhism, there's a concept known as letting go. This doesn't mean giving up, but rather releasing the need to control everything. We all encounter situations where we have no control over the outcome. Whether it's a global crisis, a personal loss, or something else entirely, trying to control these events only leads to frustration and stress. Instead, emotional resilience teaches us to let go of the need to control and accept that some things are beyond our grasp. Once you make peace with this, you free yourself from the weight of unnecessary worry. A key practice for emotional resilience is gratitude. When life gets tough, it's easy to focus on everything that's going wrong. But resilience comes when we choose to focus on what's still good, what we still have. By regularly practicing gratitude, whether it's through a gratitude journal or simply taking a moment each day to reflect on the things you're thankful for, you train your mind to see the positives in any situation. This shift in perspective can help you navigate even the most difficult times with grace and strength. Resilience also requires building a strong support system. Although emotional resilience is something that you build within yourself, it doesn't mean you have to go through life's challenges alone. Having a circle of supportive friends, family, or even a therapist can provide the encouragement and perspective you need when times are tough. When you know you have people to lean on, you can face challenges with a sense of confidence, knowing that you are not alone in your struggles. Another powerful tool for resilience is meditation. In Buddhism, meditation is used to calm the mind and develop inner peace. By practicing meditation regularly, you can strengthen your ability to stay calm and centered, even in difficult situations. Meditation helps you clear the clutter from your mind, reduce stress, and gain a deeper understanding of your emotions. The more you meditate, the better you get at observing your emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. One of the most important lessons you'll learn on the path to emotional resilience is that it's not about avoiding pain or hardship. It's about learning how to face it with courage and wisdom. Each challenge you encounter is an opportunity for growth. Every time you bounce back from a setback, you become stronger, more capable, and more aware of your own power. The journey of building emotional resilience is not a quick fix or a one-time solution. It's a lifelong practice that requires patience, self-awareness, and a willingness to grow. It's about creating a mindset that sees obstacles as opportunities, not as threats. It's about developing a heart that knows how to stay open, even in the face of difficulty. So, the next time life knocks you down, remember that resilience is not about never falling. It's about getting back up, stronger and wiser than before. Every challenge is a chance to build your inner strength. With time and practice, you will find that your emotional resilience grows, and you'll be able to navigate life with greater peace, confidence, and joy. Finding joy in the present moment. We often hear people say, live in the moment. But how often do we truly understand what that means? Most of us are either stuck in the past, regretting our mistakes, or constantly worrying about the future. The present moment, the here and now, slips by unnoticed. But this is where true joy lives, in the present. Let's take a step back and think about it. When was the last time you really experienced something fully, without any distractions? Maybe it was a beautiful sunrise or a quiet moment with a friend. Those moments, however brief, are often the happiest times of our lives. Why? Because we are fully present. We're not distracted by the what-ifs or why-nots. We are simply enjoying what is in front of us. In Buddhism, there is a profound teaching that says, when you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. This is the essence of living in the present. When we stop searching for happiness in the past or future, we realize that everything we need for joy is already around us. We just have to stop and notice it. In our busy, fast-paced lives, it's easy to forget this simple truth. We get caught up in a never-ending cycle of tasks and obligations, always thinking there's something else we need to do, something else we need to achieve before we can truly be happy. But happiness is not a destination. It's a way of being. It's about finding joy in the little things, in the now. Think about it. When you're truly present in your day-to-day activities, whether it's drinking your morning tea, walking through the park, or spending time with loved ones, you start to notice details you never saw before. The way the light filters through the leaves, the sound of birds chirping in the background, or the warmth of the sun on your face. These small moments, when we truly see them, are where joy resides. Now, this doesn't mean that life will always be easy or perfect, but it's about accepting whatever is happening right now, without judgment. When you can do that, you free yourself from the need to constantly seek happiness in things that might not bring it. There's a beautiful saying in Buddhism, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. When we focus our minds on the present moment, we start to shape our lives with greater peace and fulfillment. A major reason we often struggle with being present is our attachment to the past or future. We may feel regret about past mistakes or anxiety about what's to come, but Buddhism teaches us that attachment to either time can only lead to suffering. In fact, the root of much of our pain lies in this attachment. By letting go of our need to hold on to the past and control the future, we open ourselves to the freedom that living in the present can bring. This might sound difficult at first. After all, we're so used to planning ahead or reflecting on what went wrong. But with practice, we can train our minds to be more present. It's like any skill, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Meditation, for example, is a tool that helps us reconnect with the present. When we meditate, we focus on our breath, allowing ourselves to return to the here and now. This practice teaches us to let go of our constant thoughts about the past and future, helping us find clarity and calm in the present moment. Another way to bring yourself back to the present is through mindful actions. Whether it's eating, walking, or even doing the dishes, you can bring yourself into the moment by paying full attention to what you're doing. How does the food taste? What sensations do you feel in your body as you move? These small, simple activities become much more meaningful when we give them our full attention. Sometimes, we make life more complicated than it needs to be. We think that happiness requires big achievements or grand gestures, but joy is often found in the simplest of moments. The laughter of a child, the sound of rain on your window, the hug of a loved one. These are the moments that make life beautiful. The more you can embrace these moments, the more joy you will find. One powerful teaching from Buddhism is the practice of non-attachment. This doesn't mean that we should detach ourselves from life or stop caring about anything. It simply means we shouldn't cling to things, people, or outcomes in a way that causes us suffering. When we stop holding on so tightly, we can truly appreciate life as it is, without needing it to be anything more. Living in the present moment also means accepting that life is constantly changing. We may want things to stay the same, but change is inevitable. Just like the seasons change, our lives are in a constant state of flux. When we embrace change, rather than resist it, we can find peace in the flow of life. The key is to stop trying to control everything and simply experience life as it unfolds. To deepen this experience of living in the present, we can also practice gratitude. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we don't have to what we already do. Instead of thinking about what's missing, we start to notice the abundance in our lives. The small things, like a warm cup of coffee in the morning, the comfort of a cozy home, or the love of friends and family. These are the things that bring us true joy. When we focus on these blessings, we open ourselves up to the joy that's always available to us. In Buddhism, there is a concept known as savoring. It's about fully experiencing each moment without rushing through it. Imagine truly savoring your meal, not just eating it, but enjoying the colors, smells, and textures. Savoring each moment in life, whether it's a quiet walk in nature or a conversation with a friend, allows us to find joy in the here and now. It's not about the big things, but the small, meaningful moments. And here's the beauty of it all. When we focus on the present, we start to see that joy is not something we have to search for. It's already here. It's in the way the sunlight falls on the ground, the way the breeze feels on your skin, the way your heart feels when you're truly at peace with yourself. Happiness doesn't come from outside. It comes from within, from the simple act of being present. The more we practice living in the moment, the more we begin to shift our mindset. We stop looking for happiness in things we don't have and start appreciating what we already do. It's a transformation that brings us closer to inner peace. And the more we embrace this practice, the more joy we will find, not in some distant future, but in the very moment we are living. Finding joy in the present moment is a practice, a habit that we can all develop. It takes time, but it's worth it. Every time we bring ourselves back to the present, we take a step closer to living a life of peace, happiness, and contentment. So the next time you find yourself drifting off into worries about the past or future, remind yourself, right here, right now, is where joy lives. And that, my friends, is the key to true happiness. The power of self-compassion. Self-compassion might sound like an easy concept to grasp, but in reality, it's something many people overlook or struggle with. We live in a world that constantly tells us to push harder, be better, and always strive for perfection. But in this pursuit of being the best, we often forget one of the most important things we can do for ourselves: to be kind to ourselves. Self-compassion is not about being soft or weak. It's about accepting yourself, flaws and all, and treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer to a close friend. Think about it. If a friend came to you, upset about something they failed at, you would not criticize them or judge them. You'd offer comfort, understanding, and encouragement. Yet, when it comes to ourselves, we are often our harshest critics. We expect perfection, and when we fail to meet that standard, we punish ourselves with guilt, regret, and self-doubt. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is a natural part of life. We all experience pain, loss, disappointment, and failure at some point. But what makes the difference is how we respond to that suffering. If we can learn to treat ourselves with compassion in those moments of difficulty, we can ease our own suffering. The Buddha taught that by cultivating kindness toward ourselves, we can build a foundation of inner peace. This peace allows us to navigate life's challenges with grace, without being overwhelmed by the harshness of our own thoughts and feelings. Imagine, for a moment, a time when you failed at something, maybe a goal you set or a decision you made that didn't turn out the way you hoped. How did you treat yourself in that moment? Did you criticize yourself? Tell yourself that you weren't good enough? Or beat yourself up for your mistakes? Or did you offer yourself a moment of grace, acknowledging that it's okay to fall short sometimes? Self-compassion means acknowledging that you are human. It means understanding that mistakes are part of life, and they do not define your worth. In Buddhism, the concept of metta, or loving kindness, is central to cultivating compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. When you can offer yourself the same kindness you offer others, it creates a space for healing and growth. This doesn't mean you should allow yourself to make excuses or avoid responsibility for your actions. It means being honest with yourself while also recognizing that you deserve love and understanding, even when things don't go as planned. Think of self-compassion as a tool that helps you get back on track after a setback, rather than a crutch that enables you to avoid your responsibilities. Let's take a look at the power of self-compassion in action. Think about a time when you were struggling emotionally or mentally. Maybe you were feeling lost, confused, or overwhelmed. How did you cope with those feelings? Often, we try to distract ourselves from pain through busyness or avoidance. We may even try to numb the pain with unhealthy habits or negative self-talk. However, none of these things provide lasting peace. Instead of pushing those emotions away or criticizing yourself for feeling them, self-compassion invites you to sit with your emotions, acknowledge them, and give yourself the space to feel what you feel without judgment. When you allow yourself this space, you begin to understand your emotions better and can take positive steps to address them. Self-compassion helps you break the cycle of self-criticism, which can only leave you stuck in a negative loop. One of the key elements of self-compassion is mindfulness. Mindfulness allows you to be present with yourself and your feelings without letting them overwhelm you. When you practice mindfulness, you stop running away from discomfort. Instead, you face it with kindness and understanding. This is a powerful way to move through life with a greater sense of ease and peace, knowing that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love and compassion. You might ask, how can I start practicing self-compassion? The first step is to become aware of how you treat yourself. Pay attention to your inner dialogue. Are you constantly criticizing yourself? Or are you offering yourself words of encouragement and understanding? One simple way to practice self-compassion is through affirmations. Tell yourself, I am doing the best I can, and I am enough. It might feel awkward at first, but with time, this kind of self-talk can become more natural. Another way to practice self-compassion is through meditation. There's a meditation practice called loving kindness meditation, or metta bhavana, in Buddhism, which is designed to help you cultivate compassion toward yourself and others. In this practice, you silently repeat phrases like, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease. As you repeat these phrases, you begin to create a mindset of kindness and compassion that can carry over into your daily life. Self-compassion also means being patient with yourself. We all go through difficult times, and it's easy to get frustrated with ourselves when things aren't going the way we'd like. But just like we would comfort a friend who's struggling, we need to learn to comfort ourselves. Instead of rushing the process or forcing things to happen, we can give ourselves the time and space to heal and grow at our own pace. When we start practicing self-compassion, we begin to feel a shift in how we approach life. We stop measuring our worth by external standards or by comparing ourselves to others. We realize that we are enough just as we are. This mindset is incredibly freeing because it allows us to move through life without the constant pressure of perfection. It also makes it easier to extend compassion to others, because when we're kind to ourselves, we naturally become more kind to those around us. In Buddhism, there's a concept called equanimity, which is the ability to remain calm and balanced no matter what life throws at you. Self-compassion is a key part of developing equanimity because it teaches you how to stay grounded in the midst of life's challenges. Instead of reacting to difficulties with frustration or anger, you can approach them with patience and understanding, knowing that everything is temporary and that you have the ability to cope. In summary, self-compassion is not just a nice idea. It's a powerful practice that can transform the way you experience life. By learning to treat yourself with kindness and understanding, you give yourself the freedom to grow, heal, and move forward without being held back by self-judgment or guilt. It's an essential part of personal growth, emotional resilience, and living a peaceful life. So, the next time you face a challenge, remember, be kind to yourself. You deserve it. Silence and solitude as tools for growth. In our busy lives, filled with endless noise and distractions, have you ever wondered what it would be like to truly sit with yourself in complete silence? To step away from the chaos, even for a little while, and just be? Many people fear silence. They think it's empty or lonely, but as a Zen master, I tell you, silence is not empty. Silence is full of answers. It is where we find our truest self, free from the voices of the world. Solitude, when embraced, becomes a mirror, reflecting who we are without judgment, without expectation. Let me share a story. Once, a young student asked me, "Master, how do I stop comparing myself to others and feeling inadequate?" I said, "Go and sit by the river alone for a day." When he returned, he looked calm but confused. I asked, "What did you learn?" He said, "The river flowed without stopping, the birds sang without asking for praise, and the trees stood tall without comparing their heights." I smiled and replied, "That is life. In silence, you see how everything exists as it is, perfectly." Silence gives us clarity. It allows the mind to untangle its knots. When you are alone and still, you stop chasing the noise of the outside world, and the whispers of your soul grow louder. You begin to hear what you truly want, what you truly value. In solitude, you find strength. Many fear being alone because they mistake it for loneliness. But solitude is not loneliness. It's a sacred time to connect with your inner self. When you're alone, there's no one to impress, no one to compete with, and no one to judge you. You can be raw, honest, and free. Think of great minds, wise sages, or even artists. Where do you think their best ideas were born? Often, in moments of solitude. Buddha himself sat in silence under the Bodhi tree, and in that stillness, he found enlightenment. But in today's world, we are glued to our phones, always looking for the next distraction. Have you noticed how uncomfortable it feels when your phone dies, or there's no Wi-Fi? That discomfort is a sign of how disconnected we are from ourselves. Yet, the more you practice silence, the more comfortable you become with it. Start small. Set aside a few minutes each day to just sit quietly. Turn off your phone, close your eyes, and take slow, deep breaths. At first, your mind will resist. It will chatter, worry, and distract. Don't fight it. Let those thoughts come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. Slowly, the noise will fade, and you will begin to notice the peace within. Nature is one of the best places to practice solitude. Go to a quiet park, sit under a tree, or listen to the waves at the beach. Observe how nature thrives in silence. The wind doesn't need applause to blow. The sun doesn't need validation to shine. They simply exist, and in their existence, they remind us to embrace our own presence. In silence, you also begin to heal. The wounds you've been carrying, the pain you've been ignoring, they come to the surface, but not to hurt you further. Silence allows you to sit with those feelings, understand them, and let them go. It is like sitting by a fire on a cold night. The warmth soothes you, even as it burns away what no longer serves you. Solitude teaches you self-reliance. When you stop depending on others for happiness, validation, or approval, you realize you have everything you need within yourself. This doesn't mean you don't need relationships or community. It means your peace and joy are not tied to them. You become a stronger, more grounded person, capable of giving love freely without clinging to it. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly sat with yourself? Not scrolling through your phone, not filling the silence with music or TV, but just being. If it's been a while, I encourage you to start now. It's not easy at first, but the rewards are immense. The more you embrace silence and solitude, the more you will notice how much noise you are carrying unnecessarily. You'll feel lighter, more focused, and more aligned with your purpose. In Buddhism, we call this coming home to your true self. In solitude, you remember that you are not the titles you carry, not the possessions you own, and not the opinions of others. You are simply you, and that is enough. Silence isn't just the absence of noise, it's the presence of awareness. And in that awareness, you'll find answers to questions you didn't even know you were asking. Solitude isn't something to run from, it's something to run toward. Because in those quiet moments, you find the strength, clarity, and peace that the outside world could never give you. So, take a moment today. Step away from the distractions. Sit in silence and listen, not to the noise outside, but to the wisdom within. You'll be surprised at what you discover. Conclusion. Embracing your unique journey. Dear seeker, we have walked a long path together today. You have listened, reflected, and perhaps seen your own life through a new lens. Before we part, let me share the most vital lesson of all. Your journey is yours alone. In this world, we are surrounded by distractions, constant noise, opinions, and expectations. We chase what others have, compare ourselves endlessly, and measure our worth by fleeting standards. But, tell me, have you ever seen a tree compare itself to another tree? Does the sun wonder if the moon shines brighter? Does a river hesitate because it flows differently than others? No. Nature teaches us this truth. Everything and everyone has a unique path. Let me take you back to a simple story, one that has been shared in Zen for centuries. A young monk once came to his master, overwhelmed by doubts. He asked, "Master, why do I feel so small when I see others achieving great things? Why do I feel unworthy when I see their success?" The master smiled and replied, "Close your eyes, young one. Picture a vast ocean with waves of every size. Tell me, does the ocean think less of itself because one wave is taller than another?" The monk hesitated. "No, master." "Then why is that?" the master asked. "Because every wave is part of the same ocean," the monk answered softly. The master said, "Exactly. You, too, are part of the great flow of life. You are neither smaller nor greater than anyone else. You are simply you, and that is enough." So, as we conclude, let me remind you, your journey will never look like anyone else's. And it shouldn't. You are not here to copy others or compete with them. You are here to grow in your own way, at your own pace, and in your own time. Take a moment to reflect on this. Every step you've taken, every joy you've felt, and every challenge you've faced has shaped who you are today. These experiences have been your teachers. Even the hardships have given you strength, wisdom, and resilience. Buddhism teaches us that life is a mirror. What you focus on within yourself reflects outward into the world. If you focus on gratitude, you will find abundance. If you focus on envy, you will see lack. This is why self-focus is so powerful. When you nurture your own inner peace, the world around you begins to shift. But remember, this path is not about perfection. Perfection is an illusion. The Zen way is about presence, being fully here, in this moment, with all its imperfections. Your flaws, your doubts, your fears, they are part of your story. They don't make you less, they make you whole. Let me ask you, what would happen if you stopped chasing? Stopped competing? Stopped comparing? Imagine how light your life would feel if you simply embraced yourself as you are, flaws and all. That is the freedom we are all seeking. Now, dear one, before we end, let me remind you of something important. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of viewers subscribe. This tells me that so many people are seeking wisdom but hesitate to take that next step. Don't let this moment pass you by. If you found even one spark of truth in these words, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Your support helps us reach more seekers like you, and it keeps us creating content to guide you further. As you go forward, let these final thoughts guide you. Life is not a race. Walk your path at your own pace. The opinions of others are just noise. Your inner voice is the one that matters. Success is not measured by comparison, but by how true you are to yourself. True happiness comes when you stop looking outward and begin nurturing what is within. You are enough. You always have been. You always will be. Thank you for joining me on this journey. It has been an honor to walk beside you, even for a short while. Now, go forth, live fully, and embrace the unique, beautiful journey that is yours alone. Until we meet again, stay mindful, stay present, and always, always focus on yourself.